This Pereira dude, man. Ugh. Oh man, it's not looking good. It's okay, Prohaska. You remain calm. That's what you're in for. Feel like that could kind of be a good thing, you know what I mean? You didn't get knocked down by Rakic though, but maybe I'm just jealous. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's why I've been picking against Alex Pereira for his entire career. I cannot fathom how possible it is for a fighter in the UFC to come in and get this much success. I'm like, there's something that has to go wrong, right? We live in reality. This guy is not pink. Like something is it's bound to happen, especially in the sport. I think I've always picked against Alex Pereira outside of one fight. Do you know which one it is? Yes, it's UFC 287. The only time I picked Alex Pereira to win a fight in the UFC, every single time I've picked against him. And I'm wondering, why am I doing it? Am I actually foolish? Maybe I am. But when you look at the style, when you look at the way Alex Pereira fights, there's actually flawed. There's actually, especially at the beginning of his UFC career, there seems to always been some ways to beat him. When he fought Bruno Silva, that was his second fight after fighting Andres Michailidis. And even Andres, I think, took him down a few times. Bruno Silva also was on the feet with him for 3 rounds and landing some big shots on him. Israel Adesanya took him down, had some success as well. Jan Blachowicz almost won that fight. So when you look at it, Jiří Procházka had some success in the first round of the fight. I mean, I can go on and on. Pretty much every single one of his fights outside of his last 2 fights, there seem to have been some like ways you're like, oh, his chin wasn't as great as we thought. His takedown defense obviously isn't very good. His speed or whatever, or his power in that Bruno Silva fight was like, he's powerful, but wasn't able to knock out Bruno Silva. So there's always been some ways I'm like, yo, fighters can implement that into their game plan to beat a guy like Alex Pereira. So that's why I picked against Alex Pereira's entire career. And when he walks into the octagon, I'm like, all right, they figured him out yet. He was new. He was the new thing. He was the new prospect. Usually that's what happens in the UFC when a new guy comes in. He's very hyped up. Not a lot of footage on him. Fighters cannot prepare the same way. Now, it's been a while now, and I feel like, all right, fighters are going to figure him out, and they still can't do it. They still cannot do it. Now, granted, the light heavyweight division is also a very, very striking heavy division outside of Magomed Ankalaev, which the UFC seemed to not want to give a shot. Respectably, we don't want to see Magomed Ankalaev, but still, every single one of the guys at the top of the light heavyweight divisions are mostly strikers, so it's actually very favorable for a guy like Alex Pereira to be champion in that division. But like I said before, why am I picking against Alex Pereira? Why am I doing it? Why am I picking against Alex Pereira when Jiří Procházka just got knocked out 2 fights ago by the same guy, and they're fighting a few months later? Why am I doing it? I just want to present some stats to you comparing Israel Adesanya to Alex Pereira's UFC run, basically. And, I don't even want to make a case for Alex Pereira being better than Adesanya, but he's getting close. All right, let's just hear this out. Israel Adesanya's title fight wins since 2019 is 7, 8 if you count interim. Alex Pereira's title fight wins since 2022 is 5. Israel Adesanya's champions beaten 3. In his entire UFC career, Adesanya has beaten 3 champions: Pereira, Whitaker, and a 50-year-old Silva. Alex Pereira's champions beaten 5. Jiří twice, Hale, Jan, Izzy, and Sean Strickland. Adesanya's UFC championship belts is 1. Pereira's UFC championship belts twice. He obviously got the middleweight championship and the light heavyweight championship, which is something Adesanya tried to do but couldn't do it. Now, the most important stat here is Israel Adesanya's time in the UFC is 6 years. Over 6 years he's been in the UFC. Alex Pereira's been here for 2.5 years. So that's more than half the time. And those stats are comparable. Now, obviously, I think Adesanya is somewhere around like 13 UFC wins in his entire career, and Pereira's at 8, right? So there's some differences. There's some things you don't add in or that I didn't put in here. But when you look at the important statistic, the title fight wins, the champions beaten, the categories, the championship belts won, Pereira and Adesanya are very close. And I would say even Pereira has the edge over, obviously, the champions beaten and the championship belts acquired. That speaks volume. And for this short amount of time, it's unfathomable what he has accomplished. So I guess I'm just a fucking I'm a fool. I'm a fool for not picking Alex Pereira to win his fights. But I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this. If he fights Magomed Ankalaev, are you confident picking Alex Pereira? No, you're not. If he fights Tom Aspinall, are you confident picking Alex Pereira? No, you're not. If he's fighting John Jones, are you confident picking Alex Pereira? No, you're not. Every single matchup before they happen for Alex Pereira seem bad. They don't seem like the right ones. Outside of probably Jamal Hill. Jamal Hill was the perfect matchup. I can't give myself any excuses on that. Yuri Prohaska was a bit, unorthodox, especially in the first fight. Now, the second fight, it should have been more studious. But what I'm saying is, every single time Alex Pereira comes into a fight, it seems like his opponent has what it takes to beat him. Every single time. You're like, all right, it's going to be that time. So I can't even tell you straight in your face that I'm confident that I'm going to pick Alex Pereira again in the future. I truly can't. I truly can't. But all I can say is, from what he has accomplished in this short amount of time, is surreal. And even if he loses his next fight, this run in 2.5 years that he's had in the UFC is one of the most impressive runs we have ever seen in UFC history. I'm telling you guys right now, I'm making a video on the main channel. It's going to be titled something like Alex Pereira's title run, or Alex Pereira's run need to be studied. And we're going to talk about a whole lot of things. But the most important part is, I was bringing some stats in this video, and I'm going to do the same thing on a main channel where I talk about the average, UFC record before becoming double champion, the average UFC time, the average time a UFC fighter takes before becoming champions, to put it into perspective how impressive Alex Pereira's run has been, because it's actually been incredible. So tune in for that on the main channel. It's going to be something a bit unique, because usually we focus really more on like the storytelling arc. Like, I try to be a little cinematic and really tell the story, a story that you already know, right? But you now see it visually, and you can now see it in a beautiful artistical way, right? But I'm trying to add in as well a little bit of some educational stuff in there. And when you click on my videos now, I want you to be able to learn something new. And that's what I'll be doing in my next video about Alex Pereira, because we've talked about his story, but I'm not sure we've seen it put into perspective on stats on paper, which is what Anthony Smith likes to do, which is also a guy that fought at UFC 303 that had a poor performance, that absolutely booted and sucked against a middleweight. And yeah, Anthony Smith, just never pronounce Alex Pereira's name ever again in your life, brother. Please just stay in the commentary booth. You're doing an amazing job there, but don't mention Pereira anymore. It's done. It's donezo, buddy. You're cooked. I'm cooked too, to be honest, because I picked Yuri. Who the fuck picks Yuri? Why would I pick Yuri? Because he's my boy. You know what I mean? You try to put it into the air. You try to put it into the universe. That's how you attract things. You've never read the law of attraction book. That's how it works. You know what I mean? I did the same thing for Charles Oliveira and Arman Sarukian, where I knew Arman is better. I knew Arman would find a way to win, but I wanted Charles to win, so I put it in the air, put it in the universe. That's how it works. It's tough to make fucking prediction when you know, like, you deep down want a fighter to win, because you don't want that to become a reality. Like, yes, I do think Arman is better. Yes, I probably do think Alex Pereira is a better fighter. But if I want the other guy to win, sometimes I want it too bad. And, it fogs my brain. But outside of that, Alex Pereira is tremendous. He should definitely fight Tom Aspinall in his next fight. It's probably the matchup that makes the most amount of sense. I know people are talking about either Magomed Ankalaev, which also makes sense, but it's a very dangerous matchup. And I'm like, if we want to see this level of, this type of history from Alex Pereira after this amount of activity, I'm like, bro, do it now. Do it now. He's 36, about to turn 37 in July. Do it now. Don't wait for Alex Pereira to get mauled by Magomed Ankalaev. And now the entire idea of him becoming 3-division champion is just not there anymore. I feel like he's done enough. He's earned that from, like, just saving events on top of events and you know, being there on short notice and being active. He's done so much in the promotion in a short amount of time. Give him that opportunity. And if he fails, he fails. He can come back down and fight Magomed Ankalaev, you know? But if he fights Magomed Ankalaev now, loses, it just, the status don't make sense. So I'm thinking 304, Tom Aspinall beats Curtis Blades. They do Tom versus Alex Pereira sometime later this year. And the winner fights John Jones. I feel like that's absolutely brutal. No, I don't want to say brutal. It's not the right word, but I mean that's the perfect scenario. And yeah, Tom Aspinall is going to be a very, very difficult matchup. I would definitely pick Tom Aspinall, but it's just for the plot, you know, for the storyline, for it just makes sense. It makes sense to make that fight now. You don't make John Jones versus Alex Pereira right now, obviously, because they want to make that stupid, ridiculous matchup with Stipe Miocic. But, you know, if he does get past Tom Aspinall, it's definitely the fight to make. And we'll see when we get there. I appreciate all the people, the few people that came and watched the first stream, because I did stream my reaction to this fight. So for UFC 304, if you guys remember, you guys can tune in on the stream. I'll be reacting to the fight on stream on this channel. So I appreciate all the guys that pulled up on the first stream, and feel free to come for future pay-per-views. So yes, I appreciate you guys for watching. Let me know your thoughts down below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one, man. Peace out, boys.